Let's start here, shall we, Grandma Tifany? She just saved her own skin. And she also saved the state of Oklahoma a whole lot of money. Tifany Adams is her legal name. Grandma Tifany is what she's become. She is the cold-blooded mastermind of a cruel and vicious double murder. And you may be filling all the details in your head already, just upon hearing the nickname Grandma Tifany, right? Because we spent most of last year covering Grandma Tifany's evil scheme and the aftermath. And she has just essentially admitted, yeah, okay, you got me. Admitted that she's orchestrated the ambush murder of a mom of her own grandkids, the mother of her own grandchildren. Grandma Tifany didn't like Veronica Butler very much. That's an understatement. And she hated the custody battle that Veronica was fighting with her son. Now, Jillian on the right there with the blonde hair, Jillian was just a court-ordered supervisor, right? She was assigned to the custody visit. She had nothing to do with anything. Talk about wrong place, wrong time, because Jillian was murdered right along with Veronica, for good measure, you know, witness and all. This happened on the day before Easter, March 30th, 2024. Veronica, there on the left, and Jillian on the right, they got into their car and they drove from Kansas over the state line into Oklahoma because that's where they were expecting to pick up Veronica's kids for a custody visit, right? And they were going to meet up with Grandma Tifany at a rural highway intersection for the handoff. You know how that goes. Instead, those two women were diverted off the highway and right into a trap because waiting for them with weapons were Grandma Tifany, her boyfriend Tad Cullum with the long gray beard there, another couple, Cora and Cole Twombly, and a fifth guy named Paul Grice. All of these misfits, and I say that because they were all members of an anti-government Christian prayer group that called itself God's Misfits. And that's according to court documents, not according to me. Grandma not only hatched the plot, she bought the burner phones, she bought the stun guns, and she persuaded all these co-conspirators to go along with the plot. The girls who died, the victims, their car was found abandoned the very same day, but it would take 2 full weeks before anybody could find their bodies. 8 miles away. Those two women had been crammed inside of a freezer chest, which the killers had then buried 10 feet underground on a piece of property that was leased by Tad. Again, Tad is Grandma's boyfriend. When they got those bodies out of this awful grave and out of that freezer chest, the autopsies discovered that Veronica was stabbed 9 times, but she had an additional 21 defensive stab wounds to her hands. Jillian Kelly, the person who was just there to supervise, well, the group apparently wrote her off as collateral damage. She was also stabbed 9 times and had 7 shallower cuts as well as defensive wounds. 2 members of this murderous group took plea deals pretty quick, before even Grandma Tifany could get herself to the trough. Those 2 were Cora Twombly and the person who actually wielded the knife, Paul Grice. Both had death penalty taken off of the table in their cases. And that is the same story now for Grandma, who up and pleaded no contest, didn't plead guilty, just no contest. I got it. You got me. So Grandma's going to be sentenced in January, but she will not face death. So now that leaves 2 men standing, Tad Cullum and Cora's husband, Cole Twombly. They're going to have to face the jury, or they are going to have to do what 3 of the others did before them, and that is beg for their lives and cop a plea, if it's even offered. I'm joined now by the first attorney I thought of when I heard about Grandma's news, and that was Mark Eiglarsh. He's a criminal defense attorney, former prosecutor. He's a good friend of the show. Okay, I don't get it, Mark Eiglarsh. Why would the prosecutors even offer this woman a deal when they had her dead to rights and she's the mastermind?
All right, so let's support your theory. First, let me concede that what she did was especially heinous, atrocious, and cruel, cold, calculated, and premeditated. All the words that you hear tossed around for cases that warrant the death penalty. Now, that said, the best negotiations are when both parties leave the table not getting exactly what they wanted. While the prosecution would love to see her on death row, the prosecution got her to spend the rest of her life in prison without the possibility of parole. The benefit they get is closure. They don't have to go to a trial. Plus, if they did proceed to try to get the death penalty, all 12 in Oklahoma would have to be unanimous. All it takes is one juror to say, I don't know, she once said, God bless you to somebody. I think that's good enough to spare her. Or I think having her live life in prison would be tougher for her than actually being alone on death row. I don't know what possible thought process they might have, but they have to be unanimous. But here's the most important thing, Ashleigh. Even once they get a conviction, and even if they get the death penalty and all 12 agree, then the appeals start. And you know about this. This will go on for decades. And I researched this. In Oklahoma, almost half of those who get the death penalty, those convictions are reversed on appeal. Either the sentence or the conviction then is reversed. That is an insane number. We really want to do this all over again in a couple of decades? I don't think so.
Well, and 5 times over, because there's 5 of them in this conspiracy, right? And yeah, at about $10 million per death penalty, that's a lot of money to put these people away. So can I ask you about the no contest piece? Because at the very, 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 very least, this woman and the evidence against her was so compelling. Why didn't they demand that she say, I am guilty, and here are the details?
The direct answer is, I don't know. Would have been nice, right? But it's not something that's that atypical. Most of my clients plead no contest, even when they're absolutely guilty of it. It just gets us to the potential sentence. It really doesn't have any impact. She will absolutely never get out of prison. She's pleading and getting life without the possibility of parole, and that's it. I know we would love to hear her say, I'm guilty, and even give testimony if somehow that's helpful. But the prosecutors didn't think it was that necessary.
So with a no contest, does that mean she gets to just scamper away to her cell? Or does she have to turn on the others and testify against these other 2, or at least put the pressure on those other 2 that we got you dead to rights too, you better plead?
Separate issues. So no contest simply means you're not admitting it, you're not contesting it. It's a way to get you to take the plea and you move on. The separate question is, will she, as part of her plea, offer testimony against the others? And specifically, the plea that I read didn't call for testimony against the other 2, either because prosecutors feel they have a strong enough case without her, and or because she's garbage. A cross-examination of her would decimate her, and she's not worthy of calling. So it's not necessary. I think prosecutors feel that, and they got what they wanted.
I mean, you're right about that. She is absolute garbage, and she is Kohberger level garbage. What she plotted and what these people did to these 2 terrified women, one of whom was collateral damage. I mean, imagine going through this, these 5 people, and thinking, fine, well, we'll get this. Fine, we'll get this second one too. Or, you know, who cares? Who cares? She's here and she's a witness. The issue that I was curious about was the sentencing. It's scheduled for 3 days. Why is it scheduled? I've seen sentencing that takes maybe a half hour. Why 3 days? Are they planning to unload everything, every detail, every piece of evidence, and get part of the story that we've never yet heard?
That might be part of it. The other part is you need to ask for significant time in case you want to have victims testify. And you don't know how long they're going to be. So in the abundance of caution, you ask for 3 days. And if it takes a day, day and a half, that's okay. That's how we do things. We ask for more time than what we possibly need to afford every person who's been impacted by her horrible deeds to be able to express and get some closure in that courtroom.
So the Twombly's, again, this has to be a big screen movie. What the moronic plot that these five people put together. The Twombly's, the married couple, had a 15-year-old daughter. They still do. And this 15-year-old daughter probably unknowingly told the police all the conversations that she overheard her parents having about this murder plot. Do you think a big part of the plea offerings thus far, all 3 plea offerings thus far, do you think a big part of it has been to spare this child not only the testimony against her own parents, both of them, but testifying 5 times in 5 different trials?
The answer is yes. You do want to avoid putting her through that. But if prosecutors didn't get what they wanted, they would have put her through that. I mean, ultimately, getting a life sentence is not a bad deal. Unless the crime occurred in front of a busload of nuns, and even if it does, there's no slam dunks. I disagree with you, Ashleigh. I met you during the Casey Anthony case, if you remember. And during that time period when we shared an umbrella when it was raining, we saw a case that we thought was a slam dunk. And the jurors, believing she was guilty, walked out of that jury room in tears because, well, we know she did something, but we can't say, was it first, was it second, was it third? There's never a slam dunk. You don't know that. Anyone who's been around the criminal justice system knows that when you can get somebody to plead guilty and waive their right to appeal, so they go to their prison and we don't hear from them and they're done, there's a value to that.
Yeah, I learned my lesson in October of 1995 with O.J. Simpson. To me, that was the slam dunk that never was. And I'll tell you what, it informed me as a crime reporter to give the benefit of the doubt and listen and never assume, because weird stuff happens. You know what I was going to say. Hey, Mark Eiglarsh, I appreciate your wisdom on all of this. You have to talk me off the ledge a lot, but I feel like we're going to have a lot more of these plea deals, given how hard the death penalty has become and given how expensive it is, too.
Thank you, Ash. I appreciate you having me on.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.